All right, let's get started. This tutorial assumes that you guys know a little bit about Corona SDK and Lua itself. So let's go on ahead and open up the Corona simulator. All right, for you guys, go to File, New Project, call it whatever you guys want to call it, Faky Bird. Just next, go to Save. Since I already got all my files out, I'm gonna just go ahead and open it, or what I'll do is I'll attach the source file, and you guys could just follow along with my source. Alright, so go ahead and if you're following along with my source, go to Faky Bird 1. Oh, I'm using Sublime, by the way. Check it out. It's a really cool editor. To draw any object onto the screen, basically it's one line. We're gonna say we have a local variable background 1, and we're gonna say we want a new rect with x position 160 going out, 240 going down, and we're gonna say it's 320 Y and 480 big, and that'll give you this white rectangle here. And then alright, just pretty easy. Let's move on. Step 2. Alright, okay, so now we have a background. Let's just figure out what we want to do. In my opinion, the best way to start any kind of game is to figure out your gridding system. This way, it'll help you to figure out where each item should be. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say start at X of 160 and Y of 20. The Lula's for loop kind of goes like in this format here. So we're gonna say for 1 in 24, let's make a grid at the very middle of the screen. Let's comment this out so you guys could see what it looks like. All right, so we're gonna make the horizontal grid. We're gonna set its color to gray. How set color work is it does this. It takes your RGB divided by itself. Pretty much that's it. Pretty easy. Let's go on ahead and make the other grid. Simple. Pretty simple. Alright, let's move on to the next step. Alright, after having the grid, we want to draw, the obstacle. It's the main selling point of Faky Bird. Right. The background was white. It was looking weird, so let's set it to a color. I set it to teal. You can set it to whatever color you want. Just do this RGB. And you have this awesome chart that would tell you what color, whatever color you want. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and create those poll. Let's see. Let me comment them out. Alright, so we have the first poll. We said go out 40. For the bottom poll, go down by 340. And the top just by -20. And we're going to create some variety. Alright, let's move on to the next step. Let's go to 4. All right, now that we have the poll, we want it to move. You know, because stationary objects aren't very fun to play with. All right, so same as before, we have everything. The only different is we're gonna have a function. We're gonna call it onUpdate, and this is Alright, so Corona has a very cool built-in feature, is you're allowed to add event listeners to frames. I currently have the FPS set to 30, so it's going to update 30 frames. It's going to call the onUpdate function 30 times per second, and we're going to say each pole's current X position is move it to the left by half a pixel. So just kind of like that. Okay, now we have our moving obstacle, but that's it. It's not resetting itself, so let's take care of that. Alright, it's kind of choppy here, but the poles are, they're resetting itself. You're telling it when each pole has reached an out of bound coordinate, just go ahead and reset itself. Alright, this is how we're going to take care of it. We're going to say when pole 1, if it's less than negative 20 pixel, which is out of bound, put it behind the very last pole, and then add an extra 80 pixel on top of it, and that's creating your spacing in between them. Oh, and constant control for your delta. That way you don't have to change every variable. Alright, so now we have a game. Let's yeah, we have a game. Let's move on. Alright. Now we have Faky Bird. Faky Bird is just a rectangle, as you can see. You tap the screen and he jerks. I'm tapping. You can't see it, but I'm tapping. Alright, we're going to add Faky Bird. We're going to say, just put him somewhere. And we're going to say he's 20 pixels wide and 20 pixels high. The only different here is, we're going to add some variable. We're going to add a Faky delta y, and Faky y delta is a constant variable that we're going to use to decrease its current y position by 7 per frame. And Faky flap delta is its x delta going up. I have a function here that is when it's called Alright, so when it's touched, we're going to say flap delta flies up by 13 pixels. Alright, now let's go ahead and add this function to our listeners. We're going to say, since we want the player to be able to touch the whole screen, we're going to add it to the background that we created before. We're going to say add event listener touch, and then pass it the function. The only other different that we currently have is we're gonna say when Faky delta is greater than 0, we're gonna just move it around. All right, let's move on to the next step.
Yeah, kind of so I got a little bit horrible yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
Alright, so since we're at the game, we need to figure out a way to just end the game.
I got fed up with
Um,
listening to her all the time about it. And then she going to show me the electricity bill, saying that it's all my fault for raising the electricity bill when I was trying to conserve the energy.
How would you be raising the electricity bill?
She going to claim that.
Alright, so let's go on ahead and move on. Go to Faky Bird 7 if you're following along. Okay, the biggest thing that we're going to change here is we're going to add the physics engine. We're going to say physics, a local physics, require the physics library. Make sure it starts. Okay, so once the physics engine is running, we want to add every object into the physics engine. We could do that by saying physics.addBody, and we want to add Faky Bird into it. We want to use the physics engine's collision detector. That way we can see whether Flappy Bird is touching a pole or not. Since we want to control the y delta of Faky Bird, we're going to say gravity scale is 0. That way we could have full control of it. We don't want it to rotate based on the physics engine. We want to be able to control that. We also don't want it to interact with other objects. We just want it to know when they're colliding with one another. So set that to true. Alright, let's go on ahead and add these guys. We're going to add all the obstacle as static objects. Static objects are physics object that does not move, and they act like they have infinite mass in the physics environment, and we want that. We want to be able to move these poles ourselves. Alright, let's add some IDs to them. We're going to say fakybird.id. And the reason why we want to add ID is when these objects are colliding onto each other, we could see who's colliding with one another. So go ahead and just add those guys. Alright, previously the bird didn't really go off bound, and we're going to say when its y coordinate is less than 10, meaning if it goes too high, you lose the game. If it goes too low, you lose the game. And it's going to call the endgame function, which I've defined at the very bottom, but we'll get to it. Alright, we're going to have a local collision system. It's a function that takes an object of itself and an event that you pass into it. So you're going to say when the object collide, we're going to say if I am a bird and I'm colliding with a crash object, we're going to call the endgame function. Alright, so endgame, we're just removing all of the event listeners. That way they don't take up memory, or it's going to cost Sprout if you don't remove it. Okay, the only biggest difference is down here. We're going to say fakybird.collision, and we're going to set it with the onLocal collision function. And then we're going to add it to the collision. I'm going to pass it the type, and alright. And our game is almost finished. Just gotta make it between the pole. What really helped is turning on debug mode. Let's see. That way we could see the physics object just by itself. Or if you don't like it like this, you could do hybrid. It'll do both. Alright, so now we have our game. We have a win condition and we have a lose condition. Oh well, we have a lose condition. Let's add some scoring system to it. Let's go on ahead and open 8. Alright, so in this version, we're going to say for every poll that you pass, you get 1 point, and it keeps updating. Alright, let's see how we're going to do that. Oh, I also changed the way that we created poll. As we go along, I'm going to increase the complexity of how I code. So we're gonna create a table object. Table. Alright, so we're gonna say for 1, in 4, create a little table, p-top, and we're gonna just add it to our big table up here. We're also going to add a score display. We're going to create a local variable, my score, which will hold your score. We're going to print it to the screen at precision 260, 30. Just a weird font. We're going to set it to black, which is 0, 0, 0. And same as before. But instead of hard coding everything, we're gonna do a little for loop that runs for the size of our obstacle table, and we're gonna assign IDs to each one of them and add them to the physics engine. All right, so same thing as before. Instead of hard coding the move function, we're gonna say for I in the size of my obstacle table, move every object by x delta. When the object reaches negative 20 pixel, increase my current score and just edit it. And just edit my score. Same as before. Alright, let's see how far I can get. I think I'm getting pretty good at this. Oh, never mind. Alright, let's move on to the last step. Alright, in this portion, we're gonna split Faky Bird into their own individual states that would handle each scene individually. So in our main file now, all we're gonna do is 3 lines. Corona SDK has a really powerful storyboard engine. It's really cool. Storyboard allows you to go from different scenes seamlessly, and it lets you control everything you do. Alright, so let's go on ahead and call the storyboard library. We're going to say storyboard, require storyboard. I'm going to say each time we move between scenes, we want to clean up our assets in the previous scene. That way it doesn't take up RAM, runtime memory. So let's go on ahead and set the auto purge to true, and we're going to say storyboard, go to scene. We're going to go to scene main menu, which is just a little file here, and we're going to say fade into it with a delta time of 1.5 seconds. So this here actually creates this effect. A little cool fading effect. Alright, so our main menu actually is going to look like this. Alright, so in each individual scene, we're going to say it requires a storyboard also, and we're going to say a local scene, storyboard create new scene. Alright, so they're split into a lot of functions. Go on ahead and let me do this for you guys. So there's a storyboard template that you could download online at CoronaSDK.com or something. And it'll let you, it'll have all of these functions, and they're really well documented. So check it out. All right, so I'm gonna want to create everything on my create scene function. And we're gonna just do this. The most important thing is setting your local group. You want all your assets to be added into the group, so when you move on to a different scene, all the assets would purge along with that scene. So let's go on ahead and we're going to say play display, just with a play button, and that's this guy right here. And we're going to add it to the group, and then we're going to have a touch listener, and then do play D listener event. When you touch the play button, it'll transition into the game. And then you loop it however much you want. Alright, so our function is going to be event.face equals began. If the object play is touched, we're going to call the play game scene. And let's move on to the play games. Alright, so play game is going to be the same as before. It's going to be all of our logic. But we're gonna add some new stuff to it. We're gonna have an end game, which has the play again button, and when you press it, it takes you back to the main menu, and that's kind of is the cycle. Okay. The final version is very well documented, so I'm not gonna go into details. And that's pretty much it. You have your very own version of Faky Bird running. Replace the rectangles with your own asset, make your own game. Really fun, simple. Under 200 lines of code, very easy. The biggest comparison that I want to bring up with you guys is, in order to write something like this in a native language, you're gonna have to be doing a lot more coding. So it's let me just blow up Eclipse and show you guys the different. Alright, so get a game like that running in native Android, you're looking at about over 100 .java file and 20,000 lines of code, depending on how complex a game is. For every little thing, you have to write a .java file that handles, per se, touching, audio, background music. A lot of coding that needs to be done. And Corona just takes all of that and makes your life easy. Makes my life easy. And that's it.